and you are on mute. So we want to welcome President Lindsay. I just want to make a few little announcements first. We did realize that we are holding this on Yom Kippur, and that being apologizing for that and being an oversight in our scheduling. We're going to be much more aware of that going forward. And as I said, this will be recorded, so we'll be able to share it with those who cannot attend. I want to tell you about a couple events. We had some really great events this weekend on campus. It was Octagon Fair weekend. So our alumni board was there. It was a beautiful day. It was clear, sunny, and a perfect fall day. So it was great. We had a good turnout. The students were really happy and the clubs were participating. So that was great to see. We also had the Athletic Alumni Hall of Fame this weekend, where some of our outstanding athletes were inducted into the Hall of Fame, including the men's hockey team from the class of 1978. Which was really a great event. We also had some events coming up. Finally, we're able to have some things in person. So we're just super excited about that. Everything was a little tentative, but now we're going full guns. So we have a bunch coming up. In the near future, we have Albany, New York on November 3rd. You will be getting invites for that if you live in that area. And if you don't live in the area and just happen to be there, you can go on the webpage and see the details on that and register. November 12th, we'll be in Philadelphia for a Flyers game. Jackie Cohen is hosting that. Jackie Cohen out 7, so thank you for that. And on December 3rd, we will be in Rochester, New York for men's and women's basketball. And thank you to the hosts of that, Rick Hozan and Jamie Redman. Reunion, I just want you to mark the dates. You will be getting save the dates relatively soon. And reunion will be June 23rd through the 25th, 2023. And registrations will be beginning in March. So seems odd to be saying 2023, but seemed odd to say 2022. So just have to adjust to it. So I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. It's great to see some familiar faces and names. Thank you so much. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to President Lindsay, who will be giving you an update and answering some of your questions.
Thanks, Ellen. Good evening, everyone. Great to see so many faces. And thank you for joining us tonight. Especially thanks to some people I see from Florida. So hope everything is okay. Give me the thumbs up, Jim, if okay. All right. Want to connect with you later about what happened. So what I'd like to do is give you an overview of what's going on at the college and some plans we have. And then, as Ellen said, open it up to a bit of a Q&A. And I understand there's been some questions submitted already online. We had an exciting opening to the academic year. And as Ellen alluded to, we did it without masks. It seems that, knock on wood, that we may have COVID behind us, and it made for a much more exciting and robust beginning to the academic year. Move-in day is always exciting. Following move-in of the new students, we had the president's welcome, and that's when the new students received their beanies. So we are continuing that tradition. Just a shout out about that to the folks, to the alumni folks. And then we also had a mountain day a couple of weeks ago after the students came and chanted and sang and decorated the residence halls to the point where I was satisfied with the amount of school spirit on campus. So we're continuing to reintroduce those kinds of traditions, which were frankly somewhat difficult during COVID. I will mention, I heard the question there from Ann Davis about, have we had any cases? We have had a couple of positive cases on campus, but it's really only, I forget if it's 3 or 4 cases, no serious symptoms, and those students were able to quarantine. So no outbreaks yet, and knock on wood that everything is going to go okay. Yes. So there's a number of things that I think we can be feeling excited about at Elmira College. The first is I'd like to report that we've had an uptick in freshman enrollment. We achieved 98% of our goal for freshman enrollment. We also this past year increased our fundraising. We went from exceeded our goal of 1.15 million in budget relieving gifts and achieved 1.4. And we are going to, our target this year is 1.5 million. You may also be aware that we were awarded a $1.85 million grant from the Department of Education, and that's for improving, upgrading our IT infrastructure and classroom technology. So we're going to have classrooms that are really state of the art here in just about a year. And then we've also been introducing a number of new academic programs. You may remember that we eliminated some academic programs 2 years ago, and that was so that we could pivot towards programs that offer a core in the liberal arts so that you have the foundational soft skills that everyone needs in combination with professional skills and then the opportunity for hands-on learning. And that's really taking what Elmira College is known for and elevating it to a brand. So I'll talk about that in a second. The academic programs, just this past spring and summer, we introduced adolescent education and environmental science, media studies, communications, and design, and four concentrations in art therapy, graphic design, product design, and studio art. And we still have 2 proposals that we are waiting for word from New York State Education Department about. They're 2 business concentrations, one in information technology and one in sports management. All of those along the new brand that I just mentioned. We also had the first inaugural group enter the Tommy Hilfiger Fashion Business School, and they've been doing some very exciting things. They've already made 3 trips to New York City. One was to participate in Fashion Week and a fashion show with Tommy Hilfiger. They attended lectures at the Fashion Institute of Technology along with FIT's graduate students, and they got to see a special exhibit at the Met and get a behind the scenes tour. So all of that is thanks to Dr. Allison Wolf, who's in charge of the program, and support from the Hilfiger family. And a bunch of you are probably going to be pleased to know that we're restarting our Term 3 course program, travel course. It's been 2 years since we've been able to do anything. That's a feature of our curriculum that students are very excited about. And so we have 4 trips planned for this coming Term 3, 1 to Italy, 1 to the Southwest US, 1 to Guatemala, and 1 to Ireland. There was an article that I was looking at recently, a study that was done by the Arts and Science Group. And they reported some interesting findings about students' reactions to a liberal arts education. You've probably heard some of the talk in the last few years that students have been turned off by the term liberal arts. As a matter of fact, they don't really understand it. It's very vague. They know it's a thing, but if really pressed, they come up with saying, well, it must have something to do with politics because it uses the term liberal, and it must have something to do with fine arts because the word arts is in there. So perhaps there's a bit of ignorance out there, but the study went on and said that students are now not unfavorable. They're drifting back towards being a little bit open to the liberal arts, but strangely, they're saying 2 things. One, they don't think small private colleges are the place that deliver a liberal arts education, even though 95% of them really were founded as liberal arts colleges. And two, they think the liberal arts are okay, but they want to combine them with more educational opportunities, more involved, in-depth, engaging educational opportunities. And so we really feel that we're gravitating towards the sweet spot by, as I say, combining liberal arts education with professional skills and hands-on experience. That's what students are looking for today. That in combination with the statistic that 77% of students say they want a job focus to their academic experience. So what we're doing is giving them the core skills, but also some of those professional skills as well. So that fits in with our strategic plan. The college is ending its first 5-year strategic planning cycle. There was a strategic plan that was approved by the Board of Trustees back in 2018. And in 2023, we'll be at the end of that cycle. We set some goals. And what we're doing this year is assessing what we've been able to accomplish, where we fell short, and how we want to revise things for the next 5-year cycle, which would be 2023 and 2028. And each of you, as an alum of the institution, will have the opportunity to participate in this assessment this year. We're going to be sending out a survey in about a month that outlines what the goals were in that first 5-year cycle, gives a little bit of feedback on how we did, and then asks you to give us input on where you think, given the constraints that we give you, the institution ought to be going. So I definitely want to encourage everyone, if at all possible, to participate in that survey. Afterwards, those results are going to be collated. We will use them to have several focus groups on campus with faculty, students, and administrators. And then we'll be presenting some preliminary results to the Board of Trustees in February, with the idea of doing some revisions and then ultimately approving some revised goals for the 2023-2028 cycle. And so that's going to be dictated a lot and going to be coordinated quite a bit with something you may have heard me talk about before, and that's our Sci-Pre status. Now, Sci-Pre refers to the opportunity that the institution now has to borrow money from its endowment to fund our next 5-year cycle and some of these initiatives. We had to apply to the state to do this. They had to approve our plan. We now have approval. I'm going to be signing a memorandum of understanding within a couple of days. As soon as that happens, the procedure is that we submit a petition to the county court, or sorry, the state court in the county of Chemung, and they then will grant us permission to do the borrowing from endowment. And the payback, we are paying the money back over a period of time, will occur over 20 years. But it's about using the money for upfront investment to build for the future. And so I'm very excited that we've been able to do that. To pass muster with the state really was a big deal. And so now I'll pivot to, we've had some external recognition recently. You may have read that we were recognized by US News and World Report in their annual survey of colleges. We ranked quite well. That came out about a month ago, and they ranked us number 8 in regional colleges in the North, number 4 in undergraduate teaching, number 5 best value in higher education, and number 14 in social mobility. So all of those, I think, speak well to some of the progress we've been able to make over the past few years. If you haven't seen it yet, we launched a new website just a few weeks ago, and it's designed really for potential students to use. We can track metrics for the use of the website, and it really is a lot more navigable and user-friendly. So it also has a pretty cool feature that you can design your own online custom view book. So if you went online and typed in custom view book, you'd be able to design your own view book. So rather than sending a hard copy to a student, they can choose a major, choose a club, other things, put their own view book together, save it, and then come back later on and change it because maybe their interests have changed. All the while, we can pay attention to what's going on online and react specifically to the needs and interests that they have. So that's part of what we're doing in communications and marketing and admissions to attract additional students. Ellen already mentioned that we had a pretty exciting weekend with the Athletics Hall of Fame, with the Octagon Fair, with the Alumni Board meeting. Kudos to Dawn. I thought you did a fantastic job leading the Alumni Board. I think it was a very effective and efficient meeting, at least while I was there. And then at the end of the, on Saturday night, after all the activities were over, Jana and I decided that we would head over to the branch. And this is the second time that I've walked into the branch, and I survived. There were several alum who were excited and wanted to buy me a beer. I decided to have one drink, had a lot of fun conversations, and then we made it out safely, as I said. So fantastic weekend. I think I'm still recovering from the weekend, but I think we had, as Ellen said, fantastic weather, and all of the events seemed to go quite well. So I'll end with my report there, and then maybe we can move on to some questions that people have.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. And just want to remind everybody, if you do have a specific question that you'd like to ask, you can put it in the chat, and we're going to try to get it as many as we can. We did have a question submitted. In relation to borrowing from the endowment, how large is the endowment and what percentage will be used?
I actually can't tell you the size of the endowment right now. And the reason is that the market has been changing quite a bit. It hasn't been going in a good direction, I can tell you that. But approximately, the endowment stands at $30 million, and we're going to be borrowing $8 million in 3 different pieces: $4 million in 2024, $3 million in 2025, and $1 million in 2026. And then the repayment scheme starts in 2026.
Okay, thank you. Somebody is asking, how's the relationship with LECOM going? Are we seeing EC students going into their medical programs?
We do have some students that have gone into the program. It wouldn't be as many as you'd think. When I talk to folks and they say they find out that there's guaranteed slots for Elmira College students to go to medical school at LECOM, they think that we would just be busting at the seams. The interesting thing is pre-med students, they tend to be obviously a very driven kind of person, and they don't necessarily like to be locked into a choice right away. So if they are admitted simultaneously to Elmira College and LECOM, which is how the program works, the advantage is they don't have to take the MedCat test. But the disadvantage is they have now signed up for 8 years. 4 years at Elmira College and 4 years at LECOM. And while some people have been intrigued with that option, they like to play the field a little bit. And they might be considering upstate medical college, or they may feel, you know what, I have a chance to get into Cornell Medical School. So we still have students that are coming to the program, but not as many as one would anticipate. Now we're responding to that by, we're talking right now with LECOM about a joint Bachelor of Science DO, Doctor of Osteopathy program that would be 6 years. So they would spend the first 3 years with us, the second 3 years with LECOM. There's a combination between the two, and it would be a rather rapid program for high ability students to get through. And we think that's going to be pretty popular. LECOM is interested, and we're hoping to have that online in about a year. We're also branding ourselves as offering programs in the health sciences. So obviously we've had a nursing program for a long time, but we also have communication sciences and disorders. We have a robust pre-med program, as you've heard. We also have a clinical laboratory sciences major, and we have the relationship with LECOM. So we're feeling that all of those are going to begin to enhance applications that for students who want to go to LECOM, and overall for students that are just interested in the health sciences. We saw an uptick in the number of students who are majoring in the sciences this last couple of years, and we feel that's related to our relationship with LECOM.
Okay, great. Can you tell us what the number of students are in the freshman class?
Yes, the number of students in the freshman class, hang on 1 second here. There are 173 full-time freshmen. There are about 25 part-time. And then there are a couple of students who transferred in, and they are advanced freshmen. So that's the approximate numbers that I just got today.
Okay. This next question kind of sounds like an algebra problem, so I'm going to give it to you as it was asked. What was the retention of students going from freshman to sophomore this year and from sophomore to junior year?
Freshman to sophomore year was 78%. That's something to really pay attention to. We want that to be north of 80%. It did show some real improvement. During COVID, it dropped to 72%. So it was 72% last year, 78% freshman to sophomore year. We retained, I don't have the percentage, but we retained fewer sophomores moving to junior year than we were expecting. I can get that number, and it appears that it's related to the lack of student engagement over the last 2 years because of COVID. So that's the class that spent 2 years masked on campus with really a lack of social life and taking online classes. So it seems that it's had an ongoing impact as we've moved along. So I don't have specific numbers for that, but that's the anecdotal response.
Thank you. I have a comment. Love the new website. And are there plans for a section that allows online shopping from the bookstore? And I can answer that one for you, Chuck. The answer is yes. The college store has a link from on the website, and Jen Swain will post that link in the chat.
And I was just talking to Dave in the bookstore today, and apparently he's going to bring back the T-shirts that I think were pretty popular. What is it? Elmira College, undefeated in football since 1855. So those will be available for you.
Great. Few more questions. Has the need for financial aid for students increased in this past and current year, given the climate of our economy?
It's a little too soon to tell if the economy has had any impact just yet. I mean, it's really that the interest rates have gone up just in the last few months, and students haven't filed their financial aid forms for next year yet. So that's a little bit of a stay tuned in terms of what the short-term impact is. I could say that longer term, we have seen a very slow uptick in the number of students who use the FAFSA and are applying for financial aid. That's over a decade. It's maybe increased about 1 percentage point per year. We have the majority of our students applying for financial aid.
Okay. Let's move on to legacy students. Are legacy students guaranteed acceptance? And is there a significant tuition discount? And how do you consider admission?
Wow. Okay. So 3-part question. So answer number 1, first of all, we love legacy students, but no, they are not guaranteed admission to the institution. Unless, of course, you write a check for $5 million. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. And great, that's recorded now. But anyway, there is no advantage that a legacy student has in terms of us bending the rules, if you want to put it that way. The tuition discount, it stands at about 60%, which is really quite generous. And what we do is give the money back to students in the form of this discount or scholarships. What are the factors that are used in admissions? Well, number 1 is academic performance in high school. Main thing we look at is the high school grade point average. Second thing is academic rigor. What kinds of courses did they take? Are there some AP or honors courses there? If they're thinking about nursing, how did they do in the sciences? And even though we're test optional, we do look at SAT or ACT scores. And if they're thinking about something in math sciences or a related field, we're particularly paying attention to the math SAT or ACT score. And then I guess the last thing factor is student quality. Were they involved in high school activities? Were they the leader of a club or organization or a sport team on their high school campus? That tends to mean that they will be engaged in college. And we're really mindful about the quality of student that comes, because we know students rely on each other. If they have a question about something, they're much more apt to go to a peer, to go to a fellow student and ask. And we want students that are working together in a way that is a positive experience. So we look for students who would be prone to that kind of interaction.
Okay. Somebody is asking, when will athletics be having facility updates, especially baseball, softball, and field hockey?
We're putting together longer-term plans right now, strategy for improving athletic facilities. The specific ones you're talking about, what were the sports again?
Baseball, softball, and field hockey.
And field hockey. Okay, so baseball and softball, we've recently made a move up to what's called High Point in Horseheads, just about 15 minutes up the road. And they really are some wonderful facilities. And I was talking to members of the baseball team this past spring. They love them. And it looks like for the time being, those are going to work very well for us. You may recall that we were playing baseball at Dunn Field in Elmira, and Elmira just wasn't taking care of the facility. So we moved, and both programs are very happy with that. The issue with field hockey is a turf field, and turf fields aren't cheap, but we're looking at, first of all, for a short-term solution. We've been in touch with the Elmira City School District, who just built a brand new turf field. They now have 2. The one they just built has lights. So in terms of scheduling games, it's quite good. And we're thinking we're going to be using that in the short term so that we have a turf field for field hockey, perhaps for soccer. We're even considering bringing lacrosse back, depending on what availability there is for the field. And then that'll give us time to build the plan for having our own turf field, probably adjacent to the library.
Okay, great. One of our attendees is pleased to hear that EC has a diversity office on staff. Could you discuss proposed diversity initiatives?
Sure. So last year we hired Larry Parker as the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. He's also responsible for Title IX on campus. There's several initiatives that he's involved with. He's working with student clubs as an advisor. Two specific examples would be the Black Student Union and a brand new group that he helped form, the International Student Athlete Alliance, or ISAA. And there are 60 students that are participating in that from all different backgrounds. And the idea is that it's a support group for all kinds of different minority students on campus. It's been quite well received, actually. We also cut the ribbon about a week ago on the IDEA Center, the Inclusivity, Diversity, Equality, and Access Center. That's on the first floor of the campus center. And that's meant to be a gathering group, a gathering space for people to connect, relax, and have a sense of belonging. And so Larry's responsible for that. And this week, we just sent out a cultural awareness survey to all staff and faculty. And it's really trying to get a pulse on where people are on this issue. How aware are we of the needs and challenges of minority groups? And so it's not meant to be any kind of grade or punitive thing, but it's expected to help us identify perhaps some weak spots and some areas where we can improve how we're doing on campus. So that would be an example of several of the initiatives that Larry's involved with.
Okay. We have a few more questions here, but if you have something that you would like to ask, please put it into the chat at this point. And Chuck, can you share more information about the strategic planning process, and will alumni have a chance to have input?
You definitely will. We're planning for this next cycle that I was talking about, 2023, 2028. And the primary way to participate is by filling out the survey that'll be sent out in a month to all alumni. And maybe to ensure that you get that survey, if you'd make sure that your email address is up to date with the alumni office. So we want to get as much feedback from alum as possible. We also at the same time are conducting a feasibility study, and that's for a future capital campaign. And so we're contacting alum and talking with them about what they see for the future of the college, what their interests are, if they feel that facilities is where the emphasis should be, and some other or more academic programs. And you could contact the advancement office for an opportunity to participate in that survey. Those results will be presented to the Board of Trustees in February, and that's going to be a lot of what we're planning going forward based off that feedback.
Great, thank you. Well, I want to thank everybody for attending this evening, for your time. It's great to see so many familiar faces, so thank you. Thank you also, President Lindsay, for your time to share updates and information on the college. It's appreciated. And as always, we hope alumni will remain involved. I am Ellen Himmelreich. I'm Director of Alumni Relations. If you have any questions about events in your area, upcoming reunion, or anything, if you'd like to host an event, please reach out to me. And check out the new alumni web pages for ways to stay engaged and connected. And with that, I would like to just again thank everybody for attending and wish you a good evening. And we will do this again in another couple months. So looking forward to that. So thank you. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Chuck.
Good night.